Hey everyone, welcome back to another movie review. And today we're going to be talking about the final Conjuring in the Conjuring franchise, which is The Conjuring Last Rites. It was released yesterday, September 5th, and I actually got to go see it on the day it was released, which from what I understand, it was pre-released the day before. So a lot of people have already seen it, and you may have already seen several reviews on this. So this review is going to be spoiler free. It's basically just going to be my opinion. You know, we all have our own opinions about what's good horror and what's not. And I absolutely love this genre of horror. It's one of my favorites. When it comes to the paranormal or anything that has to do with demonic spirits, things of that nature, because I do believe in that, I, love to talk about it. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So as you all know, this is the final Conjuring movie in the Conjuring franchise. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of spin-offs, Annabelle and The Nun and some of those. So they may continue those, not sure. But this is the last story about Lorraine and Ed. And quite frankly, I really didn't know what to expect when seeing this movie. I saw the reviews. It looks like the critics didn't give it a good review, but people were saying it was great. I actually follow several YouTubers that do reviews as well, and it seemed every single one that I watched, they enjoyed the movie. Did they think it was the best movie they've ever seen? No. Was it their favorite in the franchise? No, and I would have to agree. However, it was a good one. Way better than the third one. I did like The Devil Made Me Do It, but I just feel it wasn't as maybe creepy per se as the first two, whereas this one has so many elements that the others don't have that I really want to get into. Okay, so the first things I want to talk about were the things that I loved most about this movie, and the things I loved most outweigh the things that I didn't like. So, so first of all, I want to start with it had every emotion that the human person can feel wrapped up in this movie. And when it comes to horror, that isn't always the case. I feel like a lot of times, depending on what type of horror flick it is, whether it be slasher, teen horror, supernatural, depending on what it is, kind of depends on how much comedy and how much drama you get in the movie. And this one, you get everything. And what was really great is that I felt myself learning more about the characters. And because I've already been so invested in them since I've been following the franchise the whole time, I really enjoyed getting to know aspects of their character that we didn't know about in the first three movies, because they were more focused on the cases that they were on. Whereas this film, there's two stories going on simultaneously. You've got the story of the Warrens and their daughter Judy. Movie starts off talking about when their daughter was born, a case that they were on just while she was pregnant before her daughter was born. And then throughout the movie, as you're watching what's happening to the family that they end up helping, you're seeing the life of the Warrens going simultaneously, if that makes sense. And I really enjoyed that. I don't think we've seen that in any of the Conjuring series. And so I really, it was a 2-hour movie, but I felt engrossed in it the whole time because there was something to learn at every moment. Okay, so the next thing that I must talk about is this film. It takes place in 1986. And if you grew up in the 80s, then I know you feel me, and I want to see you like this video. I loved that it took place during this time. It gave me all the feels. It was so nostalgic. It took me back to that time in my life and made me feel like I was there. And it's very hard for a movie like this to really pull you in and make you feel like you're actually a part of the movie. And it did it. The director really nailed it in this area, and I'm so glad that they didn't miss this opportunity to make this a great aspect to the film. So, with that aspect in mind, the one thing I really loved as well is the emotions that I felt. There's, and I don't want to go into too much details. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for you if you haven't seen it, but, seeing their daughter grow up and just the love that they really had for her, and watching the pain of her mother, seeing her come into adulthood with the same gift, which, Lorraine doesn't always feel like it's a gift. And so I think that was really hard for her. So just seeing the relationship between the mother and daughter just really moved me as a mom. And I just loved that about the film. And then it had the scary aspect to it, obviously, when they get involved with the family. And just like, I feel like there were just so many light bulbs that went off in the movie for me, where they just kind of bring everything together. And that's what you hope for, right? In a final episode of a series, you want to see some closure. And I feel like we get that in this movie, because we get to understand how everything started and how everything ended in this family's life. So really, it works. It works in this film just because there's so much happening, right? You're seeing two stories happening at the same time, and so it almost like you need it to be that long. But the unfortunate part was, because they were telling you the story simultaneously and they didn't really bring both families together till the last half of the movie, probably actually just the last 30 minutes of the movie. That was kind of a bummer, because I was hoping to get a little bit more of the jump scares and, the creepiness that comes with this type of horror film. So that was, a little disappointing. But I feel like for a fourth film, there's only so much you could do. I really love that they chose to share this story for the last one, because it really, like I said, wrapped everything up in a beautiful bow. And had this particular case been told in one of the other movies, it just wouldn't have been the same. So I do have to say that. Now, I just rambled about stuff that I still liked when I was supposed to be talking about what I didn't like. So I guess if I was, to have any critique in that way, it would just be that it was just too long before you got to see what case they were going to handle. So that was what I didn't like. But for the most part, I walked out of the movie very pleased, happy, satisfied. Knowing that it's over, I was a little bit sad, because, again, this is like my favorite genre of movie. And there is no other series outside of Insidious that has made me feel like this series. I just love them so much. And so it really makes me more so want to go check out the real Conjuring house. I think a guy named Matt Eller, he's a YouTuber, he bought it, or he's a comedian. So it makes me just more want to check that out, but I don't know who I could get to go with me. So if any of you guys want to go with me, comment down below. But that's it, guys. Super simple review. I didn't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it. I know there's a lot of people on YouTube doing reviews right now that are going more in depth, and so I didn't really want to do that here. I just really wanted to give you guys an idea, especially if you're someone like me that just loves scary movies and just loves the experience. This is one you just got to go watch, because it takes you on an emotional roller coaster, and I loved every minute of it. Every minute of it. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this movie. Next up is going to be Black Phone 2, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.